Hello again, Struckpup. Today I'm bringing you another build video for Torchlight 3 Cursed Captain class. This one is for the Flaming Destroyer subclass, and it's a basic auto attack build called Swashing Flames. And it's utilizing the Flaming Destroyer's Giant's Wings, the relic passive skill that gives us bonuses when using a basic attack with a greatsword or a cannon. I don't suggest using it with a cannon though. And I'm utilizing Treachery, the Treachery stacks from Double Cross. I'm utilizing the bonuses to basic attack we can get from a maxed out Maelstrom, and using other things such as the Dread Banner, the Black Spot to give ourselves some extra damage to make the enemies vulnerable. I'm using Imbue Relic, my favorite item granted skill, alongside in the Legendarium a Frostwall to reduce the cooldown from 60 to 45 seconds, and a Lil General to give me that 8-second damage buff when needed for burstiness when I activate Imbue Relic and feel my energy. We're using Cloak of Flames, as you can see, the aura skill to give ourselves some extra damage and to burn nearby enemies. And I've also included the passive Falling Swords from the big relic skill Summoning Smash. We're not using it as an active, just as a passive, as you can see. Apart from that, Powder Keg is there if you want extra burst damage on elites or on champions or even on bosses. It's amazing. And there's flexibility regarding what things you can do, but in general I like to keep that simple, so I've only provided 3 various setups in the next segment with the skills. The build is fun, it's great, and if you stack enough basic attack damage or greatsword basic attack damage, you can get up to, when maxed at level 60 items without the Fazeer bonus, you're looking at numbers that can reach 2000 weapon damage per basic attack hit. When not min-maxed, 1500 is easy to reach. First we're going to start with the skills for the build, but before we talk about the skill point allocations, you need to know I've got 3 pieces of the Commodore set equipped, and 2 of those are the Commodore Jacket and the Commodore Cape. So I've got +2 skill levels to the Piracy and +2 skill levels to the Cursed skills. Now after we've cleared this thing up, we can tell you, I'm quickly gonna show you the levels and then talk why I've decided to take those levels for those skills. Level 10 +2 Maelstrom. You can take 8 +2 if you don't think you need that extra damage, then put the points into other things like Energizer or Dread Banner for cooldown. Dread Banner 8 +2, just so we can get the tier 3 bonus for the stun, and that gives us a solid amount of cooldown reduction from leveling it this high. Now Double Cross I want to keep maxed out. If you don't need it maxed out, you can keep it at 8 +2, but 10 +2 here. We want the tier 2 bonus, we want the tier 1 bonus, and we want the tier 3 bonus, as well as extra damage for this. Great Walk tier 2, more than enough, 4 +2 is enough. Powder Keg we want maxed out for more damage, so 10 +2. And now we're moving on to where the most of our skill points went. We've got 10 points maxed out Cloak of Flames. We've got 5 points maxed out Giant's Wings. We've got Ignition Source because we don't use a shield where we can socket Chance to Burn, and I'd rather not get Chance to Burn on my weapon. But if you do have Chance to Burn on your weapon temporarily, you can use Ignition Source. You can remove Ignition Source and put the points into things like Energizer. And this requires the enemies to be burning. True, this burns enemies, but if you don't want to rely on Cloak of Flames to burn enemies, that's why Ignition Source is there. So 5 points into Firestorm, and keep in mind this cooldown, it might say 4 seconds, but it's not 4 seconds, it could happen twice in 1 second, I've seen it happen. So don't be fooled by this cooldown message here. And this one is only for the passive tier 1 bonus. This is the only relic skill that has a tier 1 bonus that is not related to relic skill directly, and can give you just a passive. So this is a passive 5% chance on hit to summon a single falling sword onto an enemy. It says 4 seconds cooldown, but even this doesn't seem to have 4-second cooldown. Or maybe if it is 4-second cooldown for this, it's on the same enemy, but this one doesn't seem to have it even on the same enemy. So we have two different procs. This one gives us extra basic attack damage. It gives us chance to do that shockwave, which I can show you. You can see now. See, that's the shockwave. That's the shockwave. Shockwave, 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 shockwave. Yes, so that's the shockwave I'm talking about. It also gives us 50% basic attack damage as long as we have a great weapon equipped. It also works with the cannon. I quickly want to show you that it works with the cannon. So if you have a good road cannon, you might want to mess around with it. For example, I don't have a perfect cannon, but this is one that has chance to burn. It could work well. And the thing is, if I wife bind this cannon, you're gonna see what I'm talking about. The damage is just not, it's not enough. And losing the chance to burn for what? For 3 levels to sword smash, which I don't use. The chance to freeze, I mean. You can see on a cannon, the basic attack damage is also pretty low. But you can see the shockwave does work with the cannon. So if you want a cannon build, it's a choice. It's a choice. Okay, so yeah, Cloak of Flames, needless to say, maxed out for the extra damage, for the tier 2 bonus, for the tier 1 bonus, and for the tier 3 bonus. It's pretty decent. I think we've covered the Flaming Destroyer. Let's go back to Cursed. For Maelstrom, you want the tier 2 bonus and you want the tier 3 bonus. It's a great source of damage for your greatsword basic attacks. Keep in mind right now, I've only got one basic attack damage bonus, and my basic attacks do 848 weapon damage without buffs. If I were to take one more thing with greatsword basic attack damage to make it 131%, it becomes 1086. Now let's go to how I had it. 848, and let's use my buffs. So if I use this and this and this and this, it's at 1373, but that's not the maximum I could get. I've got 1443. But yeah, 1443 with just one item for basic attack damage. With 2 items, things change. But see, if I use the Woods Beast boots right now, I'm losing my Ancient Ember, which means I'm losing the Imbue Relic, which gives me the trigger from Lil General. But yeah, you want Maelstrom's basic attack bonuses because you want to stack them with the Dread Banner. And for the Dread Banner, the longer the cooldown, the better, and the stun at the end really helps. This one, as I mentioned, you just want the tier 2 bonus and the tier 1 bonus, it's just for mobility. And this one, as I mentioned, you want the tier 2 passive and everything. And that's pretty much it. This one, the tier 2 bonus is amazing. That's pretty much it for the skills. Let's go to the Legendarium. You want a Frostwall. Frostwall reduces the cooldown of Imbue Relic by 25, and since you can't wear it because it's a greatsword build, that means you cannot use the set bonus. Even if I put one of the items from the set, it wouldn't help. See, if I put this here, it doesn't count as the set. So you want the Frostwall and you want the Lil General because every time you use the Imbue Relic skill, every 45 seconds, you can get that 25% damage and 25% damage reduction. If you think you're fine by losing this damage, you can just put the what's its name, the Woods Beast boots, or you can wear the Woods Beast boots and put the Ancient Ember Boots over here. If you're fine, like if you think 8 seconds damage buff and damage reduction buff every 45 seconds. Is it worth it? You have to wait. Normally when it's 30 seconds, when you have the 50% cooldown reduction, it's really worth it. That means every 30 seconds you get 8 seconds. That's almost 1/3 of the time benefiting from that buff. But it's still worth it in my opinion to have the Lil General even in this case, because those 8 seconds allow you to burst down a boss quickly, and if you use it wise, the Lil General will serve you well. Now let's talk about that sword at the top where I had Sharkblade. There are various choices here. Number one choice, I mean, not the best, but one of the choices is Sharkblade. Another choice would be if you want the Maelstrom to move with you rather than pulling the enemies, which I don't like, because I like pulling my enemies so I can keep them where I want them. So I can keep them in front of me, clustered up, so I can hit them with great swords and attack everything, so I can target them with the kegs in the same place, and so that I can use double cross through all those enemies. But another option is Cloak of Flames. Third option you could use is Powder Keg's item, so you can have double the Powder Kegs, double the burst potential. Very useful on bosses, so the Showman is a good choice. And another good choice would be Woods Beast Sandals. If you think, alright, I'd rather get some crits. If you think you'd rather get some crits and knockback and stun immunity, you're fine. See, attack speed you don't need. If you're using the Sharkblade, that means you have 10 stacks of Treachery to build. Within those 10 stacks of Treachery, most of the time, see right now 8, 9, okay, around 8 stacks I already had double cross ready to recast. And if you use it well, you would be fine in that regard. So yeah, those are the options: Sharkblade, Cloak of Flames, Showman, or the, what was its name, the Woods Beast Sandals. There's that alternative choice where instead of Sharkblade you're equipping Ancient Ember Boots and then you're wearing Woods Beast Sandals. For example, if I want to get that 68.2% damage to great weapon basic attacks, I could do it. But unfortunately those ones give me bad stats such as duration for consecration and chance to evade, which I don't need. But the duration for Cloak of Flames is pretty good, so those are still good item worth wearing. Now pet skills. Pet skills, Deadlier Strikes is needed, because since we're not using Woods Beast Boots, it means we lose 25% crit chance, and with Deadlier Strikes that's 15, and with our weapon we're gonna have around 10%, that's 25, and the limit is 40. So you would need 5% crit chance here and here. More about that in the item segment, so you can get it to 35 out of 40 cap. Next, I like suggesting to people to use Battle Cry. I love using zoomies. More about why we use zoomies in the gear segment, but in general it's so we can trigger the Drat Mech Band and the Token of Invigoration more often. And then Healing Friendship is always nice to have that little bit of extra healing. And that's pretty much it. Alright, now it's time to talk about items and item roles. I'm gonna first show you the bases and then talk about the affixes. So you want 3 pieces Commodore: cape, chest, and ideally pauldrons. Then ideally you would have Winter Weave Pants and Winter Weave Gauntlets. The Winter Weave Gauntlets are those. I'm not wearing them because I'm gonna lose my damage to great attacks, to great weapon basic attacks, and I'm gonna lose some defense, which I really need, because my defense is already tragic. It needs to be 60% physical damage prevented, not 31. Defense would be very important for builds without a shield. With shield builds you can at least get some defense from there, but with great swords that's how it is. So yeah, you would want Winter Weave Gauntlets for this extra emergency protocol where you get 3 sources of damage prevention every 60 seconds if you fall below 25% healing, and it also freezes nearby enemies for 2 seconds. Then the Winter Weave Pants help with reducing the potion cooldown, which again, it's good on builds that don't use a shield, so they don't have enough block chance and survivability. So Winter Weave Pants and Winter Weave Gauntlets are great, and you want Ancient Ember Boots. Then you want Token of Rapid Bartering, you want Inferno Token, not Inferno Token, you want Token of Invigoration instead of Inferno, I just don't have it to show it. And you want Dryad Neckband. More about the stats in a moment. Now for the weapon, you want a good wrought great sword. The more the flat damage, the better. So the only thing that's better than flat damage is getting greatsword basic attacks or basic attacks that doesn't specify a weapon instead of the flat damage. Mine has 2 unnecessary affixes, so instead of relic generation I would have had basic attack damage to greatsword or flat damage. Then on top of that, the chance to freeze. It may not be a perfect stat, but it helps. If I were to choose a shit affix, chance to freeze would be the best shit affix, because freezing enemies for 1 second makes them not attack you for 1 second, which means crowd control. You're not taking hits when they're frozen, you have a window of opportunity where you can attack, so freeze is not that terrible, but ideally instead of freeze I would have more flat damage or more basic attack damage or greatsword basic attack damage. Even crit chance wouldn't be terrible, because as we are not wearing the Woodsby sandals or not swatting them, getting that extra crit chance would be nice. But I would still prefer flat damage at the top and crit chance at the top, then 3 times flat damage or 2 times flat damage and basic attack damage to greatsword or general, and then in the socket more flat damage. Because yeah, in the weapon is where you want the damages. Now for the boots you want this one, the bonus damage to great weapon basic attacks, and Cloak of Flames duration is not a bad choice. Relic cost reduction or relic generation is also a good choice for the boots, and the exact same applies to the gauntlets, to the Winter Weave gauntlets. Bonus damage to greatsword basic attacks, something like what was it called? Minus percent relic skills energy cost or relic energy generation plus. And then we're moving on to the 3 places where you can get bonus damage to a certain skill. On the shoulders, chest and legs you can get plus X% damage with Powder Keg, Double Cross, Maelstrom, and any other skill that's class skill. You can get it for relic skills, so I would suggest Powder Keg. Maelstrom damage, I mean, it's not gonna be bad, but I think Powder Keg damage would be where it would really matter. So I would suggest here getting crit damage and Powder Keg damage alongside some defenses. I would suggest here getting flat damage. No, I would priority number 1 would be damage to Powder Keg. After that you're looking for flat damage or crit damage, or even percent damage to the major damage. In my case ice is the major. I've got 7.4 thousand ice and 1000 fire. In fact I can change the fire to ice and have only ice, and that would work nice if you have percent ice, but yeah, it's not the best priority. The best priority would be damage to Powder Keg, and then flat damage or crit damage, and then defenses, a lot of defenses. And I would avoid chance to knockback. Chance to knockback works against us, so we have to chase enemies to hit them again. So avoid it if you can, and as much defense as possible. Regular defense is the best because it works against any type of damage. It may not be as much as the others, but try to get at least 60% damage prevented versus physical, and then start getting the elementals after that. In the legs, you cannot get crit damage, but you can get crit chance. And I would suggest priority number 1 damage with Powder Keg, priority number 2 crit chance, and priority number 3 would be things like flat damage or percent damage to your highest attack. as well as defenses again. Everywhere you want as much defense as you can, as I mentioned. So here you want priority number 1 probably would be 3 levels to certain things. You can get 3 levels to Cloak of Flames, not as useful as 3 levels to Powder Keg or 3 levels to Double Cross or Maelstrom. In fact, even if it's a skill that's not that great, if you get 3 levels to this one, it's not that bad because you can just remove some points from there, or you can remove some points from this one if you get extra 3 levels and put them into Energizer, for example, or other places, maybe even Magma Burst. But I would ideally get 3 levels to Powder Keg as priority number 1, and priority number 2 would be Crit Chance. Then I would get things like Energy Generation, Energy Cost Reduction, or as much defense as possible. For the pets, you want cooldown, faster cooldown for pet active skills on the token of Invigoration. I'm using Inferno because I didn't have Invigoration, but you want Invigoration, which already reduces the cooldown on hit, chance to reduce the cooldown on hit. Then on the token of Rapid Bartering, you also want faster cooldown for pet active skills. Here you want Drat Neckband with faster cooldown for pet active skills, and in the sockets of those two you want faster cooldown for pet active skills. Here you cannot get cooldown from the socket, so whatever you get, it's up to you. So you would see I have a stronger Greatsword, but I'm not using it, and that's because I was experimenting and I thought the chance to freeze and Relic Energy Generation would be better than getting that crit damage and less crit chance from the other one. See, if the chance to bleed was chance to burn, and if the 2 skill levels were 2 skill levels to Powder Keg, it would have been nice. And by the way, this brings us to damage to Powder Keg, level to Powder Keg on the Greatsword. Not the best choice, but it's good as a shitty choice. As a shitty choice, it's one of the better ones, just like Freeze. And that pretty much should be everything that I needed to say about here. If I missed something, it probably would be written on the text version. So let's move on to showing you some more of the build in action. And here we are at the last segment, gameplay part, where I show you more of the build in action and talk about the ways I like rotating this build. There are a few ways to start. Some people might want to start with Cloak of Flames or Imbue Relic and Cloak of Flames, their rotation. I personally ideally would want to start it with Black Spot and Dread Banner. Black Spot on a big target, like a green unique enemy or a legendary yellow enemy or a boss, someone who you want to take more damage than the rest of them. Then yeah, pop Black Spot, pop the banner within range of you. Or even to stun the enemies, try to get as many enemies as you can with the banner. Then next, there are a few things you could do. I would ideally do Imbue Relic at this point, so I can get that 25% damage and danger reduction from the Lil General when my energy gets maxed out, and then activate Cloak of Flames. After that, the best thing you can do is Maelstrom. It gives you bonuses to your basic attacks, it clumps up the enemies as long as you're not using the legendary item, the Coral Cudgel, and that primes them for attacks. When they're grouped up, I would suggest the next step would be Keg, the Powder Keg. Use 3 stacks or whatever stacks you've got left, whatever charges you've got left of the kegs, and now whatever survives the kegs you start using basic attacks on. 10 basic attacks equals 10 stacks of Treachery. After you reach 10 stacks of Treachery, use them. Use them so you can use Double Cross to consume those stacks, and then go back to basic attacks. Or maybe even after consuming the stacks, before you go back to doing basic attacks, you can redo Black Spot, maybe whatever else is ready, maybe another keg might be ready by this time. Just make sure you're using the things like Black Spot and Dread Banner, and make sure you're spamming as much as you can in between the attacks Maelstrom, to keep pulling the enemies closer and to keep using your doubloons. When you use your doubloons, you buff yourself from the Powdrons, and this stacks with all the other buffs. But yeah, keep using your Treachery stacks so you can benefit from the 60% attack speed. to get notified when I upload more content for this game or other games like this one, which would be wooters of all varieties, isometric, third-person ARPGs, wooter shooters and all sorts of wooters like that. You could subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to not miss out on my content updates. And optionally, you can even join as a member of the Struck Club on YouTube as a channel member to get access to exclusive perks such as special emotes custom made by me, special badges custom made by me that represents how many months you have been a member for, as well as opt-in of editing tutorials that I can give for Photoshop, Adobe Premiere, as well as shoutouts and things like that. And I would like to use this part of the video to thank all my YouTube members and Twitch subscribers. Thank you for supporting the channel and keeping me going. Thank you also for watching this video, everyone. Keep it cool, Struck Club. Until next time, and goodbye.